reminded us of the continued call for more police services, not less. So thank you to the men and women of LAPD for going into the danger. Sunday, we saw everything but peace take place in this sacred park space that we are all so connected to here at Peck Park. In fact, as Jim, I coached my son here in this field. I played All-Stars on that baseball field where this took place. It's all personal to us. We hear and see on the news these types of incidents that occurred throughout this country, throughout our city, but never we would have ever thought that this would take place here in our own backyard. So moving forward, we will ask questions, we will demand answers, we will seek ways to ensure that this never happens again in our own backyard. And for those local elected officials that don't want police officers representing them or in their respective districts, bring them here. We will gladly take them, because this reminds us that everything hinges on public safety. I proudly wore that badge for many years. And if we don't feel safe, we're not going to come enjoy our green spaces. We're not going to want to live here, shop here, dine here. So to our neighborhood council members, Ray, thank you for you and your members who are here in attendance.
As much information about what happened on surrounding the tragic events that happened on Sunday here in Peck Park. We have representatives from LAPD, South Bureau Homicide, the Fire Department, Parks and Recs. We have our council member here. We have people from our gang reduction and youth development folks. We have folks, Ray Regalado from the Northwest Neighborhood Council is represented. We also have the chief from the Park Rangers is here. So we're trying to get everybody in the room that has a piece.
Is that based on the evidence that we obtained, there's some rumors out there were some rifles being used, and I can tell you that based on the evidence that is not where the evidence points to. We believe, although they're handguns and there's too many guns out there, it was only handguns that were used and not rifles or automatic weapons. It was simply handguns. Also, there's rumors, and I want to address the rumors, right? It's what we know, and I can give you information on what we know. Prior or during the day, prior to this incident, there was a peace ride that somehow came into either San Pedro or the harbor area. There was a car show also that took place that at some point ended here or had a row here at the park, and then there was a baseball game. What I can tell you is that the peace ride is not related to the shooting. Right? We received information, some participants after it was done came here and we're just visiting the park, but we haven't found any evidence to tie them or their participation or any of the participants in the homicide. The car show as well. So there's a car show going on here as well. Obviously there's a lot of people, and once they hear shots fired, everyone's trying to scramble. And so because there was a lot of car shows or car vehicles here that were part of the car show, then there was the rumors that they were involved in the shooting, and I can tell you that we have not obtained any evidence to lead us to believe that the car show had anything to do with the shooting. The third thing is that there was a baseball game. And so what I can tell you is that there was a couple of teams playing, and it was very specific individuals who were either participating in the baseball game or were there as spectators who were involved in a dispute amongst each other. So it wasn't a team on team versus each other. It wasn't a gang on gang versus each other. It was a couple of individuals that we have identified who had a dispute, and they decided to bring it to the park on Sunday afternoon to settle their dispute, which turned into the shooting, obviously, the reason we're here. So that's all I can talk about there. It's an ongoing investigation. I want to thank not only our media partners, but the community for the information you guys have given us. That night was chaos. It was chaotic. People wanted to leave the location. We had people who observed, heard, or had information. Understandably so. People left, they were in fear, but through, you know, the media reaching out to the public and just you guys as community members reaching out to South Pure Homicide, we continue receiving tips. We're continuing to work on. Obviously, this investigation is going to take us a little bit to be able to fully identify all the participants, to arrest them hopefully, and to build a case that we can successfully prosecute in court. That's all the information I can provide right now.
Responding officers who arrived on scene, there's about 2 of them. As they show up, there's a crowd of about 500 people that are all running towards them, yelling and screaming. Some of them with injuries, blood flowing down their arms and legs as they are trying to get their sense around the chaos that is happening in front of them. As LAPD officers are trained, those initial officers, but also, as we have commonly seen in these incidents, we also see the best in humanity. So I think some of you have seen some of the images on the news of community members, cops, firefighters, literally working hand in hand, lifting people on stretchers and bringing them to help get them aid. Regular citizens, cops, firefighters, giving CPR, trying to help some of our injured victims in this shooting. As officers were then getting aid to a lot of the people that were injured, their next priority, as per their training, was trying to find scene stabilization. So they then began to work to try and get some sort of sense of calm and bring some stabilization to the incident. So they began working together to try and clear everybody out of the park so that they could continue to do their work to get medical treatment for the victims, and then transition to our next phase, which was trying to secure the crime scene. Which within this area there were, and I don't want to misquote Captain Gonzalez, but at least 3 significant crime scenes that were spread out over a significant location. So that did take quite a bit of time to secure those areas to make sure that we could preserve that vital piece of evidence so that we could catch the perpetrators of this vicious crime. As officers began to request more and more help, the call went out. The city went on tactical alert, which means all officers that were about to go home were no longer allowed to go home. And we started pulling officers from all across this great city to come down to the very southern tip here to help out. We also leaned on our partners. We had officers or deputies from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department that were helping us. We had people from the park rangers that came and assisted, and our partners from the Port Police sent additional officers. I don't at this time have an exact tally, but from being on scene, I would say it was well over 75 to 100 officers that quickly descended upon this scene to try and get some sense and calm and stabilize this incident. With that, once we were able to clear people out of the park, clear vehicles out of the park, we then were able to set up our crime scene and begin the lengthy investigative
Police in our community, and that's a lot, because we were grateful to law enforcement showed up to help save lives on Sunday. So we want to thank law enforcement. We need you. We want you.
And I know this is going to take a little bit longer than 30 seconds, so I really want to put it out there that we can have some kind of open dialogue with a question and answer, because I know a lot of people in this community want to know what happened, the truth about what happened. I happen to be there when it happened, so you can kind of get the truth from me. And like I say, I have a long time to talk about this, but when the baseball games come together, the car clubs come together, it's for peace. We try to stop the violence. And if you talk about it, that's the whole thing. When stuff like this happen, you can't quantify what didn't happen. You only can quantify what did happen. Because when we bring these people together, it's to stop the violence, period. You know, that's for everybody, not just the gang culture. Because a lot of these guys, they don't go to the shooting ranges and stuff like that, so if they have a problem and start shooting, you don't know who might get shot. And I hear it happen right here in y'all backyard right here, and then I hear people kind of throw cracks with the park and how they do stuff. I know it has to be permitted when you do things. You see, a lot of people in our culture, they don't know that you have to get permission for certain things. If somebody says, I'm going to have a barbecue at the park, and you know, hey, I'm talking to the barbecue. Low riders are pastime. Just like you go golfing, soccer, and other things like that, it's our pastime. I know there's a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up in it before the structure goes, but our main thing is the peace that it brings. Some of these guys, you would never see them together. You see them on the low rider scene. You see them at the baseball games and stuff like that. What happened, they together on the weekend, so when they see each other through the week, they say, oh, that cat cool, he from the other side, and we all right. And That's what we do, we try to bring them together. Yeah, you don't have people that's just hanging out with nothing to do. Most of the guys on the low rider scene and the baseball scene, they work, they have jobs. So they can get out on the weekend and hang out for a minute, that's what they do. And like when it comes to permits, I know about permits, and I done had to deal with stuff like that, and deal with permits, and I feel like permits do need to be in place to do certain things with an officer patrol around, stuff like that, as a deterrent. But the guys don't know it, or they're not coming for no foolishness, they don't feel like that's needed. And I know, and I have to talk to the guys about that, and some of them just don't know better. You know better, you'll do better. I've been organizing for a long time, so I know when you're doing events and you know about events. Backpack giveaway you was talking about?
Yes, sir.
We're open to come and be a part of that with you guys, because we don't want people looking at us when we see somebody go around playing baseball to be scared.
All right.